Hi everybody, welcome to today's video. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making our very own logos. What we're going to do is we're going to start by using the custom shape tool to help us create an image to work with. What I'm going to start by doing is clicking and holding on the shape tool and going to custom shape tool. Here Photoshop already has a ton of inbuilt options, like this one says leaf trees, this one says wild animals, boats, flowers, so there's a ton of options for you to use. As you might know from your six figures drawing that you already did, to create a shape, all you're going to do is you're going to select one of the shapes. Remember, you have your fill and your stroke, but today we're just going to focus on having a black fill. You're going to click and drag to create a shape. And then I'm just going to click out of that to the move tool so we can move it around. So here we have our first shape, and then I'm going to go back to the custom tool, make a new layer, and then I'm going to select this other tree. Just click and drag. And now we have two trees for two different logos. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with this tree. And some of you might have used the type tool already, for example, with the space project. But today what we're going to do is focus on how we can mix fonts to create a logo. So I'm going to go to the type tool by hitting T on my keyboard. It's right here. You can also click the little T button. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer. And I'm going to pick any one of these fonts that Photoshop has that I think would make a great title font. So I'm going to pick, I have this one called Copper Plate Gothic Light. Wow, that's a mouthful. But I'm just going to use this for now. And I'm going to make my font size about 100, but we can make it bigger or smaller if needed. So I'm just going to click, and I'm going to type the name of my company idea. So I'm going to call mine Reality Trees. So that's just a little play on words. I like to be creative with my logo idea. This seems a little big, especially given the size of the tree, so I'm just going to hit Control T on my keyboard and I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. And I'm going to put that right there next to the tree. You can also use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move your typing around. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the type tool again and I'm going to make a subtitle. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick another font that I think would pair well with this font. How about we try a cursive one and see how that looks? Oh, didn't want to change this font. I forgot. You have to make a new layer, and now we're going to select the cursive font. This one's called Beerson Dream. You may or may not have some of these exact fonts on your computer, but just use whatever you have. And I'm going to type in something to the effect of making reality trees since 2020. And as you'll notice, this is way too big to go with our title. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it about half the size of the original font, which was 100. This is still feeling really big. So let's go maybe size 25 font. And let's put this underneath. Now, I think this kind of looks okay together, but I don't think these fonts, if we zoom in, are really matching together very well. If you'll notice, having like cursive font with this having cursive font as the subtitle makes it hard to read because it's going to be the smaller size. So why don't we change this one to be the cursive font? And how about we do Ria's Trees. Oh, misspelling. Hit yes. And now we're going to make this subtitle the font that we had previously. And once again, we're going to make this a little bit smaller. And so now, having a cursive font as the main font seems to work a lot better because now the subtitle is still readable even though it's in a print font. And so now what you're going to want to do is really play around. I recommend trying a bunch of different fonts for each, both the title and the subtitle. For me, as much as I like this cursive font, I think it runs down too low, so I'm going to try another font. I'm going to try this one. How about we try this font that's called Lemon and Milk? Now, I really like these two fonts together. If you notice, this font up here is a lot bolder, while the subtitle is a lot thinner, and so it attracts more attention to the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the marquee tool to select, or my bad. I'm going to use the layers panel and click on each layer, holding down shift to select the second layer. And I'm going to move these two here. And now together, I think all three of these work really great together to make a cohesive logo that looks recognizable. So you have the image, a title, and a subtitle, and with all of the fonts working together to create a really strong image. If you'll notice when we zoom out, let's zoom out even a little bit more. This is still really legible and readable even from a distance. And when we zoom in, it still looks really good. And that's what a really good logo is. It looks good from all angles. So now we're going to make a second logo. We're going to use our same idea, same title, same subtitle, but we're going to change the image and change the fonts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the hand tool to move so we can focus on this logo. So I'm going to move this palm tree down here. And I'm going to type the same thing we typed earlier, hitting the T button to select the type tool. And I'm going to select, let's try and make a cursive font work this time. So let's find something that looks like it's in cursive. This one is called Kunstler Script. So let's go with that one. And I'm going to type in Ria's trees. And I'm going to play around with the composition here. Everything doesn't have to be so left to right. Although I don't really think that this font is very easy to read, so I'm going to pick a different font and just keep playing around till I find something that I think is both readable but also fun. So this could be a great option. I think that this sort of sketchy vibe works really well with the palm tree. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pick something for the subtitle. And we're just going to play around with different locations for the whole logo to come together. I kind of like the palm tree kind of sitting in that little pocket between the I and the apostrophe, but we can always adjust this later. Let's just come back and make a second subtitle. So let's scroll down, all the fonts will have a sample of what they would look like on the side. So I'm just going to pick one, and I'm going to type in making realities since 2020. I'm going to make this size much smaller and bump it down to 20 point size. It might take a few seconds to load. There we go. Now this I think is really small, but I think I like these two fonts together. But what I want to do is I want to have a different composition than my first one. So why don't we try to put the subtitle on this side and have the main title go below. I think now that I have this in this position, this original font isn't really working. So let's just keep trying till we find something that goes really well with the whole vibe of the image overall. So a lot of it is just playing around and trying different things and experimenting. So I'm gonna try this one. I think that's really retro and cool and kind of, once again, sort of goes with the palm tree. I'm gonna make it a little smaller, the title. Hit the check. Maybe I'll put the title up there. Have the logo down there. This title's still feeling really big. Let's make it a little bit smaller. There we go. I think that's starting to look like something. And now I'm just really playing around with different things. See, like now I have the image in the middle. I'm moving things from left to right. I'm just playing around with different ways. Okay, now I think that's starting to look like really cool. I like the tree going through the middle. And maybe we can have the logo like that. And so now we have the image being really cohesive into the title. And so now I'm just gonna click on the palm tree. I'm gonna hit Control to select multiple layers, and I'm gonna move all three of these together down. So now let's double click on the hand tool and look at both of our logos. Notice how each logo kind of evokes a different vibe. This one feels a little beachy and a little bit more California, while this one feels like a little bit more foresty. And notice how the different fonts contribute to those different vibes. So when you're making your own logos, I want you to make sure that you're focusing on how do the fonts interact with each other, as well as how do the fonts interact with the images you selected. I encourage you to try all different shapes in the custom tools to help you come up with the idea for your logo, the title, and the subtitle. And so go out there, be creative, have fun, and don't feel like you have too much pressure. This logo project is really simple and fun, but a lot of it is about placement and using that sort of artistic eye that you've been training to create something that reads really well from all sorts of distances. So good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.